Okay, quick little update on this Mcculloch 440 that I'm working on. It's kind of a wreck at the moment, but we're getting there with it, I think, I hope. It's completely disassembled. Got the crankcase here. Well, crankcase and cylinder, I should say. Everything's been taken apart, cleaned up all the surfaces, all the gasketed surfaces, reed intake. I got the reed block off, the gaskets off, it cleaned it up. I use a really soft wire wheel, like a grinder wheel. It's a brass material, it's really soft, and it works pretty good at cleaning up these surfaces. You just kind of lightly touch everything up. And it cleans up really good. The cylinder bore was really nice. There's no aluminum transfer and stuff in there. There's no big gouges. So what I use to clean up the insides of these things is well, I've got a 3-shoe hone, a 3-shoe hone. I don't actually use the shoes that often, I'll be honest, because they're pretty aggressive. I think they're a 600 or maybe even an 800 grit. So they are soft, but they still kind of weird me out. I don't like putting that against the cylinder. The plating is really, really tough, and it's really unlikely with these shoes that you're going to wear down and remove much material. But I still don't like using them. But what I do is I actually have these strips of synthetic wool. This is the stuff I use here. You can use it by hand, and I just cut strips of it. Different, fine. You can kind of pick whichever one you want to use. The green one, which is coarse, it's still not that aggressive and abrasive that it does any damage, but it'll clean up any light transfer. If it's really bad, then you've got to use some sandpaper, or the shoes. Kind of do like a process where I'll use the shoes, quickly kind of spin it in the drum. If the cylinder doesn't have open transfers and stuff, because these shoes will get stuck in the open transfers, so it is limited. Sometimes you got to use acid on it. I don't really like using acid on it, but I have. Or just using like a piece of sandpaper with your hand to try and remove the heavy transfer. I don't have a really good system for removing it. I know you can use some of these Dremels and stuff. I use this sometimes. Oh boy, there goes all my stuff. I use a Dremel for cleaning up cylinders. I don't really have good bits for it though, so maybe that's something if you guys are into doing porting and stuff. It's not something I really do. I just do stock rebuilds. So you guys that do porting, I wouldn't mind getting some tips from you guys. That what do you guys use for bits for cleaning up even exhaust ports and stuff? I'd love to know what you guys use. I've kind of tested a few different things, but never found really anything that I like that much. So I would appreciate tips on, you guys that do porting. What do you guys use? I know that these are notoriously get a bad rep from guys that do porting. They're cheap and there's lots of vibration. So I think that, and they're really hard. You need something with like a 90 to go down in and do a lot of porting work. So you're definitely limited with this. Anyhow, give me your tips there, you guys that do porting. I'd love to know what you guys use for polishing bits and stuff like that, for just for removing transfer and for ports and stuff like that. Anyway, so my crude way of doing it that I've used, and it works okay for me, is this. I use this attachment here, the 3-shoe hone, which I think is actually a brake drum hone, and then I wrap the Scotch-Brite or synthetic wool around it, and then put it in like that, and then spin it that way. That works pretty good for me, actually. So that's where we're at with the Mac build. We got some bearings in last night. Came in the mail. So we got the bearings on, brand new bearings. Can't remember the exact dimensions. I believe this is what came off. It was that was the name on it, Fag. If I'm saying that right, it's kind of an awkward name, huh? 6203. I don't know what the C means. I hope that that's not a bad thing. I don't know what the C stands for, but C3. I feel like that's a temperature tolerance. I think. But anyway, what were they? 17 shaft, 40 bore, and I want to say 12 thick. I think I had it on the other previous video. Anyhow, put the crankshaft in the freezer, put the bearings in the oven. Instead of directly heating them with a heat gun, I just put them in the oven at 200 Fahrenheit for about half an hour. Checked them with a heat gun just to see what temperature they were at, and then quickly pulled the crankshaft out of the freezer. Probably could have done a video on this, but I did it, quickly in the evening. Pick up the bearing with one of these guys and just go slide it right on. Put the crankshaft back in the freezer, let it cool down again, grab the next bearing, swap it around, next one goes on, and she's done. Got brand new bearings on this crankshaft. And the bearings weren't expensive. It was well worth it. I forget what they were now. It might have been 20 bucks for 2 bearings. They're like 10 bucks a piece or something. So good peace of mind. If you're going to bother going this far in with the project, you might as well change the bearings out. The next thing I got to do, though, is I don't have the gaskets that I need, but I was able to salvage the ones that came out. That's for the ignition plate. I'm going to have to trace these and cut new ones. So I use Caropac gasket maker, and that's what I'm going to do. That's a tedious process, though, but it is what it is, So I got to make that. This is the crankcase and oiler gaskets. There's 2 of them. There's, that's the plate that goes on, seals the oiler from the crankcase, and so I'll have to trace these, make new ones. I found some online, but by the time I bought them and got them here, they'd be bloody expensive. So I'll just go through the process of making my own and take my time with it. And what's interesting about these saws? They have an automatic oiler on the top of them. It looks like, I feel like there's supposed to be an adjusting screw there. I think it might be broke off. So that's kind of, that kind of sucks. But what's interesting about these, how they operate, I never really realized this until I got it apart and looked at it. And when I was thinking, like, how do you seal the oil tank from the crankcase? I thought this is weird. You'd have an air leak. How the hell does that happen? This isn't really sealed that well. There's a cap on it. But what does happen, what's interesting, so this basically seals, this part. Yeah. I got that right? Yeah, that's the automatic oiler, or not the oil, that's the manual oil plunger. That would be pushed in. So that goes and seals like that, but there's actually, that's the passage that goes into the bottom of here. You can't really see the lighting very well, but that's a passage that goes into here. There's an opening. You can just barely see it right there. And that actually goes right into the engine. So you're getting crankcase pulsations through that little port that operates the automatic oiler. There's a diaphragm in here and a gasket, which I guess really this thing here, if you were to pull this off and mess up the gasket, you could end up with a major air leak. So that's, I don't know, to me that's not a great design. It's probably great if, when it's brand new and it's not leaking, but to me it's, yeah, interesting design, as opposed to a lot of the new oilers. It's just an oil pump that basically runs on the crankshaft and pumps oil from the exterior around the saw, but this is actually, you know, operating off the from the crankcase pressure. Kind of interesting to me, anyway. So when I do cut this, I got to make a real good gasket and seal this up. So that'll be a challenge, making those gaskets. The next challenge is going to be I kind of wrecked these gaskets, getting them off. That's for the reed. Anyhow, that's where we're at. We got new bearings. We got stuff cleaned up. We're almost ready to get stuff back together. I got the piston rings. I got everything I need. It's just a matter of kind of taking my time and getting it back together. So we'll take the next video will be, I don't know, somewhere along the line when we're starting to reassemble. And if there's anything that kind of I find interesting, I'll be sure to share it. Okay, cool. Thanks for checking out this video, everybody. Bye.